How We Make Movies is brought to you by Microsoft Surface, Assimilate, Eizo, and AJA. So Sterlin, this film started as an exploration of an event that happened in your family that was very personal to you.
Actually, it was exact opposite of what you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It started off as a very broad sort of look at songs that come from my tribe. You know, in the beginning, I wrote this outline for the film where it was going to talk about my grandpa in the beginning and then my grandpa at the end when he died, because it has to do with these songs. And so, but as we were filming and interviewing people, more and more of them, it ended up that they were there when they were searching for my grandfather's body. He wrecked off of Little River Bridge outside of a really small town where he lived. And they found the car, but they couldn't find his body. And so as we were doing this documentary on the songs, all of these people it ended up they were there. And so it's just, the story of my grandfather became a bigger part of the documentary after that.
Do you feel that this was an opportunity for you to get to know your grandfather in a way that you never would have?
I think that's the unexpected outcome of it, because my dad was only 5 when it happened to my grandfather. And so my dad told me the other day, he was like, I feel like I've got to know him through you making the movie. And
Matt, how did you come into the story? You've got several roles on this.
Sterlin wanted to make it for a long time, and it just seemed like the right project for taking what we were doing to the next level. So, you know, it was just kind of like a continuation of what we were doing, but trying to do it bigger and better and tell a bigger story.
Coming from a narrative background, can you talk about the differences in making a documentary from a cinematographer's point of view?
Picking the right gear to be able to tell the story quick. There's a lot of interviews, there's things that you don't normally deal with, lighting and miking and things, so it's, in a lot of ways it's easier because it's more controlled, and we wanted to have a natural look.
How big was your crew on an average day?
4.
4 people?
There were some days
3
where
or
it was
4.
3, you know.
I mean, then some days there were 2, and then some days there were 1. It would be days that I had the camera, and you know, we approached it like a narrative film, I think, so it was the way that we made it, it was sort of written. We just had to do the interviews and fill in the gaps.
It sounds like you tried to have the story planned out in advance.
You're dealing with people's schedules. You don't have actors that you can just schedule for like 10 days and then they're out. You know, it's like you're dealing with real people with real lives, so that takes, you know, a little patience.
What cameras did you guys use on this shoot?
For the most part, it was all done with the C100.
The footage that you guys took was absolutely beautiful.
I mean, that was the really nice thing about the C100. You know, the ISO, to get really nerdy, you can shoot almost in the dark. And you could almost light a scene with like a cell phone. We would bring a bunch of lights out, and after a couple of weeks it was like, we don't need to do this, and it really, you couldn't tell the difference.
I feel like the film wouldn't be as good as it is without having that old footage. You know, it has a dreamlike quality now because we're not used to it. You know, we don't see that anymore, so, and it really works for the story of the film.
Was it hard for you to find all that footage?
No, just Facebook and friends.
What did you learn that maybe surprised you about your family or your culture in the making of this film?
Diving back into this old story, this tragedy that happened in my family. There's emotions that are brought up with it, and people get emotional, and really just remembering that it's actually a person that died, and it's not just some story that you heard all the time, you know, like it really brought everything back to reality.